You mentioned that you have taken roughly around 300 to 400 interviews in your past. What exactly that catches your eye?
See, first of all, see, I have a particular requirement, right? Whenever we are posting any job out there, we have a specific requirement. Let's say, for example, I want to hire a product manager who needs to focus on building a marketplace kind of product in my company. First thing that I would look for is basically relevant product experience. Okay, because we would want that person to, if there is a requirement for an experienced person, okay, what experience does that person has? Does that person has the relevant experience? Let's say I'm hiring for a marketplace. Does that person has the experience of working in a marketplace or building products for a marketplace?
Interesting.
Right?
Sure.
Making that particular kind of product. That along with what impact that person created on whichever product that person was actually working on.
In generally, in interviews I have seen, the first question is asked, please tell us about yourself. We are not going to discuss about that definitely because there are a lot of data points, how you should articulate that, how you should respond to that. But I'll ask you, what is the first question after that question that you ask people in your product related interviews?
So first question is obviously getting to know that person, making that, and the initial conversation is about knowing that person, making them feel comfortable and all those things. But usually one of the important questions that I ask in my interviews is is how do you identify a good design?
Whoa, I was never asked that question before. That's a very interesting question. If I would answer that, it will take me half an hour. It's good
And
that.
okay, so here's a catch.
Okay.
Okay, it's not just about how do you identify a good design, but since you are applying for the position of a product manager, I would also ask you to explain it in one line.
Explain it in one line.
Yes.
Earlier it took me half an hour. Now it will take me definitely 15 days. So definitely not. So it's better if you explain how do you think, what is the, because in product management there is nothing right and wrong.
Yes.
It's more towards how this question best fits, or this answer best fits this question. So what do you think can be the best answer to this question?
Okay, so as you said, there is no right or wrong answer, but one of the approaches that people can adopt is that they should think from a product manager's perspective. Like when we start making a product, we start with a problem statement, right? We start with the needs of the users. We start by understanding that whether there is a problem, okay, how your product can solve that problem, okay. So when you are designing it, let's say there is problem X, you you have the design of that particular problem, a solution of that problem ready. Then you question yourself whether that particular design is solving that problem for the user in the intended way it is supposed to, right? And in the simplest way possible, so that it becomes easier for the people to use your product in a way they want to, right? So if I have to, so and there is one more point which I actually highlighted, right? That I would ask the person to answer it in one sentence. The reason for that is that when you're talking about the product, right? You cannot just have a, as I was mentioning earlier, laundry list and start talking about half an hour related to your product. You should be very concise, right? And talking about the product. So you'll when thinking just about how to identify good design, you might get like tons of thoughts in your head. How can you put together this plethora, this sea of information in front of you, and put it concisely together in a structured way within a sentence? That helps me identify that if you have multiple things which are thrown to you, multiple problems which are thrown to you, can you put it together in a structured way, start thinking in a structured way, and probably make a story out of it so that it becomes easier for the people who are listening to you, easier for them to understand.
Is it okay to ask follow-up questions to related to this particular question? Because this is a very, very interesting question.
It is okay to ask questions. Questioning in product management itself is good,
True.
right? You need to ask questions. It cannot be like, this is it and I'm doing this.
So I can relate to this. I generally ask one question to people who I interview is tell me one product that you love. And I have seen 98.5% audience jumping right onto it's WhatsApp, it's great. And I don't believe that's the right approach to any question because product is a very, very vague term. Audi Q7 is a product. Your
Yes.
door handle is a product.
Yes.
The first thing that you wake up in the morning and brush, that is a product. So you should ask more questions. What specifically am I asking, or the interviewer is asking? So you should deep down understand what this person is trying to achieve. So there should be a counter question related to this question.
Yes, they some people do ask, but there are, as you mentioned, there are people who start thinking directly from a software perspective. That's a given thing that since you're all working in an IT environment, that's a given thing. But then it may also depend, just to highlight one point, it may also depend on the psychology of the person for which job role that person is applying, for which
Correct.
domain,
Correct.
right? If you're applying for a software domain and you're talking about that from that particular perspective, it is, I think it is fine. If you're applying in a company, let's say Audi, for example, and you're going into
Then it's a
manufacturing
car.
side, then it might be a car.
So this means question with the context makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
What do you think are the two things that you'll recommend people? Everybody asks three. I want people to focus only on two that you'll recommend people who want to switch to product management, two things that they would want to do or you would want them to do.
One specific thing, I'll talk about two, but one important thing which I have learned during my experience as a product manager is that you should be immensely good in communication.
So communication is one.
Communication is one of the greatest weapon which you can have in your arsenal as a product manager. You should communicate, you should over communicate as a product manager. Don't assume that things are there and people know about it. Put it down on a piece of paper, roll out an email, put it down on Slack, or any communication medium you use, just put it down out there and make sure that everybody knows what you're thinking and whatever conversations you've had with people. That itself is one of the biggest requirement.
Understood.
And it is also important since you're sitting at the center of every function, right? You are interacting with a lot of folks within your organization. You can't just have verbal things going on. It's good to keep things transparent, and good to have clear communication so that the expectations are set. That's one of the key things which you should have as a product manager. Another important aspect product management is to have empathy, loads and loads of empathy towards your users. You are making a product for your users, you should have immense empathy towards them because they'll be the folks who will be using it, giving you feedback. You should be able to put down yourself in their shoes and start thinking
I was
from
going
there.
to say that you should be in your shoes all the time.
Exactly.
All the time.
So you just cannot sit in a box and start thinking like what you think is true. Your reality versus your customer's reality or your user's reality can be completely different.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So it is really important that you put yourself in your user's shoes, and that itself will only come when you start interacting and you start doing like talking to them on a regular basis. But you should be there for them and have some empathy towards what they actually want.
Awesome, brilliant answer. Final question because this conversation is pretty interesting. One book that you'll recommend everybody, be it a product manager, aspiring product manager across domains, one book that you'll recommend people to read.
It's hard to think about a book.
But a starting point maybe that could be one.
So first of all, I don't read a lot of books.
Okay.
But like there have been a few books which I found are pretty interesting. One of them is 0 to 1.
0 to 1. Peter there.
Yes. So that's one of the good books which you can read, and which can help you in thinking about like product management and how you can grow in this particular field and area, what you can do exactly will help you structure your thinking and how you can make products. So that's one. And one more book which I also personally like is how to design everyday things. It's by Don Norman, and it helps you in understanding the various design and product related decisions that we take, which are inherently very biased,
Got it. Yeah.
and how you can keep user experience at the core and design different things.
Interesting. So, two books that everybody should read, and I can relate to 0 to 1 because I've been working on for startups for a couple of years now, and currently I'm working with a early detection cancer startup called Carkinos, where I can relate to this. And yesterday we touched 500 plus downloads on the Play Store, and I can relate from where we started
Yes.
tracking 1 plus, 10 plus, 50 plus, and now 500 plus, and our target is to reach 1 lakh plus, which is 100,000 plus by the end of this year. So it
Yes.
was brilliant to have you here, Umang, and people who want to ask more questions can comment below. I'll keep on helping Umang and me will keep on helping you guys in your journey towards product management. Thank you so much, Umang. It
Thanks,
was
Anand.
wonderful talking to you.
It was really nice talking to you.
Thank you so much.